Hey guys, welcome back. It's Maverick here today with episode 3 of Zombieland Saga. And I know what you're thinking, Maverick, why did you not upload this video yesterday? I thought you loved Zombieland Saga. Why did you delay it, right? Well, actually, I did record it, I did watch it, but, well, unfortunately my video got kind of, corrupted in a way. So, well, basically I had some settings that I did not do well, and by the time I noticed it, it was already too late, and I really didn't have the time to record it again yesterday. So, two things, right? One is that the video was delayed, and number two, this particular episode, it's not going to be blind. I already watched it through. There's no real way to recover my original footage and whatnot, so, it is what it is. Sometimes these things happen, so, I'm going to do my best to try and not to spoil anything, right, going through this episode. So, yeah, I mean, there's not really too much to spoil anyways, and indeed, it talks about a lot of things that I feel like could be expanded upon in terms of, references and whatnot. So, that's just the situation here. Originally, going into this episode, I had the feeling that we were probably going to be focusing on, each of the girls, like one of the girls, right, similar to how season 1, after we get to know French Shushu, right? We go through the stories of each of the girls. Last episode we had Saki. In this episode, the obvious guess would probably be Ai, right? And that is indeed what I guessed. Now, as for what it actually is, well, let's just see once we get into the episode, shall we? So let's get right into it. All right, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. All right. Hopefully, this is okay for me right now? Actually. Huh. Right, they're just recapping it right now, so... Saga! Right, looking up some MVs. I'm just trying to make sure that Okay, yeah. It's recording. Yeah, for some reason my my settings are instant like. Now looking back at it, at this scene, right, you definitely feel like, so that's what that scene meant. But, originally what I thought here, looking at that scene, was that, are they going to be trying, like, a different style of music for their next song? Maybe to play in a more acoustic style or something of that sort, right? Because it's actually a genre that or a type of music that they haven't done yet through all the music, right? And the absolute banger of an opening again. The acoustic saga of love and youth. I love that background sound there. I think it's Lily that's singing it. I'm not entirely sure, but I love that. Like, man, one thing you gotta give about Zombieland Saga is the openings are just so good. Like, I'll be honest here, I don't exactly like every single song that French Shushu have put out, that Zombieland Saga has put out, but both openings have been fire. Saga, saga, saga! Alright. Yeah, and of course, the radio show, like I mentioned last episode, they kind of tied it in with the real world as well. the voice actress of Saki is the main host of the radio show. And of course, all the other girls, I expect, will make some cameo appearances. They're voice actresses, at least. You know, during this scene, I actually thought Tai was going to, like, eat the fly or something, like a frog. Tai. And of course, the two pros. Let's go! She's just really sharp. I'm not sure about that translation, dear. Quit asking her about everything. I know, I do find it adorable that even Tai knows to ask Ai. Originally, what I thought this episode was going to be was that I was going to collapse from all the pressure on her. Hey, we're playing Resident Evil or something, right? So how exactly is this gonna work with Ai, right? Who looks exactly like their legendary center. I gotta agree with Kotaro here. Although, I definitely feel like he probably has a deeper reason for doing this, right? I mean, we clearly saw him observing the current team dynamic that they have. I wonder why they always have to have the meeting in the basement, right? Have you guys considered that? In a way that looks like a prison? I mean, I could understand it back in the back in season 1, right? But at this point in time, with them all going around doing their own thing and whatnot. And so Ai and Junko, they're just like a set piece, right? I would have thought that she said something like, "Yeah, I look up to her. That's why I emulate how she looks," or something of that sort. Though honestly, does this mean that they are never going to go anywhere other than Saga? That's what we call a business smile. I have to say though, like I'm still wondering about like why Kotaro made this decision, right? On one hand, I can understand from a perspective where, you know, all the other members have to step up. But, you know, considering the events that happened at the very end of this episode, you have to wonder, like, if Kotaro actually is also sort of guessing, like, Ai's own, how can I put it? Her own conflict within herself, I guess you could say. Impacto. Do they actually expect her to answer? I mean, you have to consider one thing, right? Like, in all sorts of areas, all sorts of industry, whether it be entertainment or sports or whatnot, or heck, even science and so on and so forth, you build upon what others have done before you, right?
やっぱ東京のトップアイドルってのは違いますね。
サガアリーナ公演は確かあの子たちも出れたよな。
全然あることですけどね。案外アイアンフリル送っちゃったりして。
なあ甘いもんやなかろう。
私たちこそが唯一無二の存在。要するに前座の私らに宣戦布告ってことか。上等じゃねえかこれ。
I mean, you guys are opening for them.
ここでアイアンフリルとの決定的な差を見せつけられてしまったら、私たちは永遠に三流アイドルのレッテルを貼られたままリベンジなんて二度と叶わなくなる。
She doesn't really understand how to use the phonetics for modern computers. Anyways, I'm a little bit conflicted about all this because on one hand, obviously we want to root for French Shushu, right? But okay, hold that thought. Now this, of course, is a reference to Stomp, right? The percussion group that actually I'm not quite sure if they're still around nowadays. Like 10, 15 years ago, they were really popular. You know, making music by using like garbage cans and brushes, brooms, all that sort of stuff.
やっぱさ、サガアリーナに派手に爪痕刻むにはインパクトが足りねえと思ってさ。純子ちゃん見て見て、タイちゃんすっごく上手だよ。
Junko's like, what the hell did I get myself into?
でも本番までもう時間もなかし、とにかくお客さんの印象に残ることせないかんと思って。ただでさえ愛がいないんだ。どんな形でも食らいついていかんと、あん時の二の舞になって。
The pressure's mounting.
ダメかな、やっぱりこれじゃダメというわけでは。じゃあいけか、インパクト。少し考えさせてください。わかった。とりあえず今のもう一回試してみようぜ。
I guess I'll talk more about the dynamic later on. And all this scene, man. The beginning chords are the exact same thing that I heard back, you know, back in the opening, beginning. And I want you to pay attention to like the aspect ratio, as well as the filter, right? And most importantly, the lyrics. And indeed the music as well. Like, this is so Showa. Like, I can't really explain it all that well, and I don't really want to get into all the depths of that, but this is just classic 80s Japanese music, alright? 70s, 80s Japanese music. A really folksy type of style. I'm not saying that it doesn't appear right now in modern times, but a lot of this music you associate with the 70s and 80s of Japan. Which makes sense, right? Junko is an idol from the Showa area. I know, we gotta have, like, the ridiculousness, right? I love how they just continue carrying on the conversation like nothing happened. So I'd say a slight difference here from this would be, so the song structure, lyrics itself definitely feels very Showa, but you know, most of the top Showa idols of that era didn't exactly, you know, play the music themselves, right? They were more so just singers, vocalists. And this as well. That is definitely a very classic sort of like music program. It's basically like the MTV of the 80s of Japan. Let's go! Ooh. Siren Frill. This girl is the new center, right? The one that took Ai's position. And here comes the drama. Seriously, we could see that coming a mile away. Ooh, mount the pressure, right? And then we have the ending, which we actually didn't have last episode, right? I really like the way that they use the colors in the ending as well. It's pretty unique, actually. I wonder if these are all like also Saga sceneries, right? And I gotta say, like the title of the song, of this ending song, is like, I feel like it's very meta because it's the sort of same structure and a length as a lot of like current modern idol groups, right? Which have ridiculous long names as their song titles. Similar to how like a lot of light novels have these super long, ridiculous titles. It's just sort of a meta thing here. Alright, so I will talk to you guys after this. Alright guys, so that was episode 3, and then once again I apologize because I could not do this blind, since I already watched this episode but lost the footage and whatnot, so this is also the second time that I am recording this sort of musing section here, right? And, well, it's pretty much the same, it's gonna be the same thoughts. So, the first thing that I talked about is basically how, you know, you kind of get this real vibe that we are turning into an actual idol show here, right? Because I feel like it touches on subjects that now I actually haven't watched any kind of other idol show like Love Live or like Wake Up Girls or something like that, so I can't really speak 100% on that, but I'm assuming, you know, I know the memes, I know the general storyline and whatnot, so I'm making the assumption that probably something similar to this happened in those series as well, right? In other idol series as well, or like, I don't know, 22/7, something of that sort. And if not, then at the very least, I feel like it reflects real life, right? Because, definitely in the past 10 years or so, with the, with what is called basically the warring states of the idol industry, where, like, tons and tons and tons of idol groups have came out, mostly, you know, to slowly fizzle out and whatnot. You know, the big idol industry boom, right? Led by AKB48, and, you know, from basically 2008-ish, I guess you could say 2008, 2009-ish, all the way up to this point, where they're still going strong and whatnot. You know, beyond the 48 groups, beyond the 46 groups, beyond the or I guess I can't really say beyond those, but basically, like, a lot of the groups that are within these big agencies and whatnot, there's like thousands of idol groups out there, right? And then at the top, like, let's say the top, I don't know, 50 or so idol groups, right? And they typically always have like a very, very strong center, right? They have a center that is basically heads and shoulders above all the other people within the idol group as well. And it's so common. It's so absolutely common for the this really strong center or leader or you know, this star of the group to eventually go solo and start doing her own solo work, right? Now the difference here between what happens in real life and versus what they're trying to imply here in the anime is that there's very few times when you know, this sort of star in real life actually decides to quit an idol group and join another idol group, right? Because part of the reason is also the sentiment of fans and the expectations. If there was actually an idol that did something like that, I'm pretty sure that in real life, probably most of the fans would not take too kindly to this situation, right? Even though it is, of course, a cutthroat industry and whatnot, you still have to you still have to have a certain amount of, I don't know how to say it, like decency or whatnot. And if you are exhibiting behavior like, okay, I'm gonna quit this group and I'm gonna join this other group because they're more famous, they're more talented, etc., etc., etc. Well, this really isn't like sports where players do that all the time, right? Especially in modern times and whatnot. We band together, form a super team or whatnot. It's generally not it's generally not done that way within the idol industry. So what typically happens is, if they do feel like they are at a point where they can cash in on their fame and popularity and whatnot, they'll just simply graduate from the group, right? They'll graduate from the group, they'll hold a big graduation ceremony, you know, we'll have like the parting words and farewells and whatnot, and then typically that center or star or whatever will do their own solo work, like go on to become entertainers, actresses, actors, etc., etc. And no, that's basically how things go, right? But I feel like in this, they're sort of drawing on the same dynamic as well. Ai is absolutely the most professional, the most well-rounded, and heck, maybe even the most talented of the bunch, right? Because she was already the top idol in the top idol group of Japan. So it just, you know, it's for certain that she is head and shoulders above all the other girls as well, and you can see that, right? At the beginning of this episode, we see the dynamic that this group has, which is not really healthy, right? Because, you know, if you enter into this kind of group where not all the members can pull their own weight, well, what's eventually going to happen is exactly what Kotaro is basically doing right now, right? The star of the group, the center of the group, she's going to be out there doing a lot of solo work and whatnot, and basically the life and death of the group is going to rest on that one person's shoulders, and that's not really a good thing. It's not good for longevity, and it's definitely not good for what Kotaro is trying to do, because he's not trying to make a quick buck, right? If this was simply something that you want to maximize the profits, maximize the business and whatnot, you definitely should be investing into the one place where it can give you the biggest return, right? Which is the star of the show. However, that's not what Kotaro is after. So he's spreading. He hopes that this group can spread out and work together as a team to uplift and do whatever he wants to do with Saga and whatnot. That's another story. But anyways, I do find this kind of dynamic really realistic, I guess you could say, in the sense where there is this one person like way stronger than all the others. It's definitely a very I feel like it's a pretty well-known and cliche like idol fact as well. So we are going more into the sort of idol industry kind of storyline here, which, to be fair, was what season 1 was anyways, right? I mean, it did manage to throw in a lot of like really ridiculous stuff, really awesome stuff, and cool stuff as well, but at the heart of it, it is an idol anime, right? It could be like, you could consider it like a meta discussion on idols or whatnot. There's various interpretations of that if you want, but throughout all the silliness, at its heart, it is still an idol story, right? So they are definitely doing the same thing here in season 2 as well. And what exactly is this going to be, right? I mean, obviously she's not going to leave Franshishu. We can all guess that already. So we would probably guess that, okay, so the rest of the girls are going to have to throw on a good enough performance to also convince Ai that they can also stay in line with the top idols, or perhaps not even that, but maybe Ai herself will need to also put down her past, right? We can see this being implied at the beginning here, looking up Iron Fill videos and whatnot. Is she actually reminiscing of the past and she still wants to be in that kind of group, or is it more of a she really has her heart set here at this point, right? That's also something that's ambiguous that I'm sure we will make clear by the end of this particular arc, right? Also, since we're on this subject, I do kind of want to talk about the topic of somehow Franshishu being on the same level of Iron Feel, right? So, I understand this. We love Franshishu, right? I love Franshishu, so I want them to do good. But at the same time, I do feel like it's kind of an insult to imply that Franshishu, this ragtag group of, not even real idols, right? Most of them, they just started this after they became zombies and whatnot, and they never received any formal training. They aren't together for that long. Like, since their formation, this is like what, a year? Something like an year, right? They just celebrated the first anniversary a while ago. So to imply that just because of that you can actually match one of the top idol groups that's been on the top for many years now, and to somehow match them in like choreography, in how they work together with each other on vocal skills and whatnot, I do feel like that's kind of putting down the other group, right? That's basically saying, all your hard work was for nothing. We are able to just throw this ragtag group together and still be on the same level, right? I feel like that's disrespectful, honestly. But there's a way to get out of this, right? Which is basically going back to I guess you could say the sort of true spirit of the Japanese idol industries, which is, the performance and indeed the individual talent doesn't really need to be top notch, right? This is something very, very different in terms of the Japanese entertainment industry versus that you see in the West, versus the K-pop idols that you see coming from South Korea and whatnot. It's really, really different, right? So I'm not quite sure if I talked about this back in season 1, but basically, the talent in the West and in South Korea as well, right? A lot of it is based on, okay, I scout out the most talented people, and then I give them all the training that they need to do. I polish it, I train them, I continue to polish it until by the time that I bring it out into the world, it's already a finished product, right? But that is not what the Japanese idol industry is about. It's about allowing you to see the process here, right? Oh yeah, now that I think about it, I did talk about this back in season 1 as well, right? This is a big difference between like I think I talked about it during the comparison between like the Showa idol, like what Junko is, versus the modern idol, which is what Ai represents, right? Now, don't get me wrong, Ai, of course, she is super talented and she has already put in a lot of hard work. But what I'm saying here is back in Junko's time, right? They also followed the same method where they kind of had to be already a very finished product about on TV, on stage, and whatnot. Whereas in modern times, especially with all these idol groups, you can actually put out the unfinished products, and indeed it's even encouraged for you to show the group in their unfinished state, right? Because that's actually part of the fun and part of the appeal of the Japanese idol industry, which is, you can look at this group, you can notice the group even while they are at their very, very grassroots stages, right? Like they probably have horrible singing, they can't really dance together in step, or their choreography is very basic and whatnot, and their MC skills, their hosting skills are quite limited, and all that sort of stuff, right? But it doesn't matter, because part of the appeal is watching them grow into this really formidable idol group that can one day stand on a national stage, right? So I feel like instead of going through it heads on, what franchises should do is show how the appeal that they have, right? Their individual quirkiness is their appeal, is why people like Franshushu, right? So they need to really maximize that part a lot more, and not really go towards not really try to have this showdown versus Iron Frill, because for one thing, I think it's unrealistic that they and also disrespectful to reality if they manage to throw on a performance that's equally as good as Iron Frill. And second of all, that's really not what the Japanese idol industry is about anyways, right? So that's something I feel like they should consider here. But anyways, moving on. I have already talked for 12 minutes now. Moving on, just one last thing I want to mention, Junko, right? So absolutely love her little song there. Like I said before, the only difference here is that I don't really think Showa idols really had this capacity. I'm sure that throughout their longevity they probably did pick up a music or instrument or two, but to the best of my knowledge and to what I've already seen from like various videos and whatnot, definitely the references to the female Showa idols that Junko is clearly taking inspiration from. I don't think any of them really had the would play guitar themselves, right? So that's a little bit different, but it's cool, right? It's cool, and I love the song. And like I said, the lyrics, the way that that scene was shot, and also like the song title and whatnot, the musicality, right, the melody, that's just all so Showa. I believe the song title is like 54 Things I've Forgotten, or something of that sort. So yeah, so it's what we call the Showa smell, right? It smells of Showa, basically. But yeah, anyways, that's great. I do wonder how they are going to put their own twist on this, right? Because I don't think that song just came out of here out of nowhere for no reason. I'm actually thinking perhaps their franchise is going to do a cover of the song, modernize it or something of that sort, because come on, like I even listened to it, right? I listened to it, and speaking of which, so I do have to wonder, right? She seemed a little bit flustered and embarrassed once she was once Sakura barged in, and then moments later Junko as well. I do wonder if maybe Junko might be one of the original inspirations for why I decided to become an idol in the first place, right? I feel like that is also another way to go about this, which is for Junko, she's only been from her period of time and whatnot, she's always been a solo idol, but see, in this episode she's like, I love Franshushu, I want to continue to stay in this, I want to continue on. And you contrast that with Ai, who I'm assuming here, like, maybe looked up to Junko while she was young, that's why she became an idol, that's why she's trying to move on towards being this solo act or whatnot. But then, because of Junko and how she is currently, then doing a full 180 once again, right? Just some speculation here, just some speculation. But anyways, okay, I think this is like way too long already. So anyways, thank you guys, and once again, I'm sorry that this one was not blind, but hopefully it was still entertaining enough for you guys. So I will see you guys next time, and bye bye.